This is session 8 in a 12-part series on the book of Revelation, but I've divided this study into 2 parts. So sessions 7 through 12 is part 2. And in the last session, I ran out of time. There's one thing I was going to say in the last session that I want to pick up now. And that's, the 2 witnesses were there for 3.5 years, which takes you through half of the Great Tribulation period. And I wanted to mention the 3 different theories that are called pre-tribulation, mid-tribulation, and post-tribulation. Pre-tribulation is that all the righteous ones will be removed and will be brought to God so they do not have to go through the tribulation period. I don't see that in the book of Revelation. The mid-tribulation period, a mid-tribulation theory, is that the righteous ones go through the first half with the witnesses. So the 2 witnesses and the righteous ones are there. But in the middle, 3.5 years, they go up to heaven with God, just like the 2 witnesses go up to heaven with God. I don't come down on any one interpretation. I think you're going to have to do it. And the whole purpose of this is to give you the tools so that you can, don't just take what I say. Understand how to go into the book of Revelation so that you can go in it yourself and can work it yourself. So the pre-trib has, the righteous ones going up to heaven with the 2 witnesses in the middle of the period. The post-tribulation says that the righteous ones have to be there during the tribulation period because God needs them. There's work for them to be done. So they're going to be there, and they won't be taken, out of that tribulation period until the end of the tribulation period is over. So I wanted to go over that with you. Now, in this session, we're going to continue to work on apocalyptic language, looking a lot at symbolism, because the symbolism conveys incredible meaning. And we're going to see that there's a cosmic war in heaven. So the war is occurring in heaven between God and Satan. So it's it's like a supernatural spiritual war going on in heaven. But through the imagery and symbolism, we can see that God is in the process of selecting and preparing a remnant to bring new life to the earth. Life that will apparently be righteous in harmony with God. We're going to see, my work on the remnant. I see it in the book of Revelation, and I'll show you. We'll go through and I'll show you. So this is session 8, and I call it a war like no other war. And just very brief review here, because we're dealing with apocalyptic literature, is that time may be points in a line, but it may not be. So we may be moving around in time, front, back, around in time. And therefore, events are not always sequential, and places may or may not be of this world. So we have time. Look at the time. We read, the second woe is past, and that's referring to the shofar judgments. Behold, the third war is coming quickly. And the 7th angel sounded the shofar. Now, the quickly is typical biblical language, and it even though there's a time that may pass, it wants you to know that to anticipate it, expect it, it's happening. It's the biblical language, and then it goes on. And I heard a loud voice from the temple saying to the 7 angels, my goodness, we've got a little typing in here. Go and pour out the 7 bowls of wrath of God into the earth. So what we're going to get now is we're going to get the 3rd cluster of woes that are coming upon the earth. So apocalyptic literature conveys supernatural activity. Let me ask you this. Before we proceed, do you understand the concept of a sign? It's different from a miracle. A sign somehow tells us something about God. Are you familiar with pregnancy and the birth of a child? Have you born a child? Or if you're a dad, were you intimately involved and connected with your wife during the period of pregnancy, and were you there at the birth of a child? And finally, does a dragon give you an image of something powerfully evil? And I've got one more here. Do you know the meaning of symbols? Because that's what we're going to have to be doing in this session. So let's go into the book of Revelation, and we read, a great sign appeared in heaven. Now the sign is to teach us something. A woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet. So we've got the sun and the moon under her feet. And the moon, by the way, represents the world, but it's under her feet. And on her head a crown of 12 stars, and she was with child. And she cried out, being in labor and in pain to give birth. So what we've got here is we've got the sign is talking about a woman. She's clothed with the sun, which means she's clothed in righteousness. She has the earth under her feet, so she's controlling the earth. She's got a crown of 12 stars. We don't know what the 12 stars are. And by the way, this crown is the crown of the victory wreath, And now she's in labor, so she's about to give birth, which is important. The whole concept of birthing new life is important. This is coming from God. And then we get here, then another sign appeared in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon. Now, what's your image of a dragon? It's not good, is it? And red, the color red, which is blood, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his heads were 7 of these. Now it's the same word. It's the victory crowns. But so we've got 2 opposing figures, 2 signs, 2 opposing figures, and the 7 heads represent people or rulers, and the 10 horns are political kingdoms or empires. We see that in the book of Daniel. And the victory crown is a victory crown of evil. So what we've got is we've got a spiritual battle going on between these 2 forces. And now, but what is the message? Let's keep going here. The tail of this red dragon swept away stars. Okay, and threw them to the earth, threw the stars to the earth. So this spiritual battle is occurring in heavens, and the dragon, which represents Satan, is throwing these stars to the earth. And we remember the stars from the beginning with the 7 churches, the 7 lampstands, 7 stars. The 7 stars were the 7 angels. And then we get this dragon was waiting to devour the newborn child. And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth, so that when she gave birth, he might devour her child. So he's going to try to do that. And then we read, she gave birth to a son. So she was able to actually birth a son, a male child, who is to rule all the nations with a rod of iron. Now we're recognizing the Messiah in this. And her child was caught up to God and to his throne. So this is all happening in the heavens. It's a spiritual battle. And then she fled into the wilderness. Okay, so the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared by God, so that there she would be nourished for 1,260 days, all right? And so, and by the way, when the Romans came in, and at the time where they destroyed the temple in 70 of the Common Era, the Christians fled over into the wilderness of Jordan, thinking that this was the end of time, and they had to escape into the wilderness. This battle is occurring up in the heavens. So the wilderness is that imagery. The wilderness is where also the image of where God brought the children of Israel into the wilderness, the Sinai wilderness, where he gave them the law, and he was with them. He was a pillar of fire that led them, and the cloud behind that protected them from the enemy. So this is the imagery of the wilderness. Don't think of it as a literal wilderness. So what do the details point to? They point to this cosmic struggle between the forces of evil and the forces of God. But more important, why is there such an elevated struggle now? Because she gave birth to a son who's about to rule all the nations. So the struggle is to bring about this. What's the ability of God to have victory over Satan. And remember that the lamb turns into a lion, and now I want to spend time now talking a little bit about the birth pangs and the birth process that brings forth new life. This is all part of the apocalyptic language of what's happening. I'm going to go back to the book of Matthew. And in Matthew 24, Yeshua has just said that, you know, the temple's going to be destroyed and it's going to be built back up again, or I can't remember, something like that. And the disciples ask him, what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? And Yeshua is saying, you're not going to know the end of the age. You can't know that time, but you will be able to see the signs. And then he goes on and he says, but all these things are merely the beginning of birth pangs. So when you see the signs, they're the beginning of birth pangs. So for many will come in my name, Yeshua says, saying, I am the Christ, and will mislead many. And we're seeing this in the period of tribulation, but we see it today. We see it today. You will be hearing of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not frightened, for those things must take place, but that is not yet the end. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and in various places there will be famines and earthquakes. So these are all the signs. These are the signs, and you'll see the signs. But what you want to understand is the message that is all behind it. And I want to go into the message of the birth pains. Either birth pangs or birth pains. It's done both ways. The purpose is that out of the pains of childbirth will come new life. And I'm taking you back to Genesis, to the woman. Adam said, let's see, who's talking? God is talking. God is talking to the woman. I will greatly multiply your pain in childbirth. Now don't think about it as literal childbirth. Yes, literal childbirth, but it points to the emergence of new life. In pain you will bring forth children, yet your desire will be for your husband. Now this was really interesting because I put the Hebrew up here. It's El Ishech, and El means to or toward. Ish is the word for man, and Ishech is your man, toward your man. It doesn't say husband. It does not say husband. It says to your man. Now your man may be your husband, but I think I really think it's prophetic of your man being the Messiah, the one that your desire will be for him, and he will rule over you. So you know, you don't just give the husband carte blanche authority to rule over the wife. This is all pointing to the Messiah, and we submit to the Messiah. We delight in letting him rule over us because we're his servants, and he guides us and he directs us, and we go in the direction that he would have us go, and he's leading us to the Father, which is amazing when you really think of it. So I want to take that word for desire. So your desire is for your man, I think referring to the Messiah, and he will rule over you. Now let's take a look at this concept of desire, because it crops up again with Cain and Abel. And Cain has killed his brother Abel, and God is saying to Cain, your desire will be for your man, and here it's the word for your master, who will rule over you. And then he goes on, if you do well, no, that was the one in Genesis. Your desire will be for your man, meaning the one who rules over you, who will rule over you, referring to the Messiah. And in contrast is what was told to Cain. If you do well, Cain, you've killed your brother, but I'm giving you an opportunity now to, this is God talking, I'm giving you an opportunity to change, to repent, and for me to bring you back to me. If you do well, will you not be exalted, elevated, exalted in my eyes? If you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door, and the desire of sin is for you, but you must be the master over sin. It's a very powerful passage, and it compares how our desire must be toward in the direction of the one who rules over us, who is the Messiah. But at the same time, we're in the world, and the sin has a desire to try to control us and to want to be master over us. But we must learn to be master over sin, and we do that through our Lord Yeshua. We can't do it in our own right. We can't do it through our Lord Yeshua. For we know, says Paul, that the whole creation groans and suffers the pains of childbirth together until now. So we are in the pains of childbirth. God is in the process of bringing forth new life, which will occur at the end of the tribulation period as those who are righteous enter into the millennial kingdom. And so we are in the pains of childbirth, but as we approach the Great Tribulation, those pains are going to get more intense. You know how they come closer and closer and closer together, and they're intense and extremely intense, and then the new baby is born. And Paul continues, and not only this, but also we ourselves having the Spirit. Even we ourselves groan within ourselves, waiting eagerly for our adoption as sons, the redemption of our body. So the pains of childbirth began after the resurrection of Yeshua. And the Spirit has been given to those with faith in the Son. And yet we are experiencing these pains of childbirth, that's the tribulation, but we have the Spirit to overcome sin so that Satan is not our master, so that we allow Yeshua to be our master and we submit to him. Now let's return to the cosmic war in Revelation that is occurring in the heavens. And it says, there was war in heaven. This is where the war is occurring. And I called it a war like no other war. It's a war in heaven. Michael and his angels waging war with the dragon. And the great dragon was thrown down. He was thrown down to the earth. The serpent of old, who was called the devil and Satan, and his angels were thrown down with him. So what's happening now is that the cosmic war that was in the heavens is now shifting and is going to take place on the earth. All right? And as it shifts to the earth, it starts to intensify. Because we read, now this is down on the earth. The serpent poured water like a river out of his mouth after the woman. He's going after what the woman represents, which is the new life that God is bringing forth. And he's bringing it forth not just in Yeshua, but he's bringing it forth in us, in those disciples who are going to be selected as part of the remnant. He's going to bring new life. And I say us, I don't know whether I'm going to be part of the remnant or not because I have to stand faithful to the end. But I sure want to be there. So I'm putting myself in that category. Okay, and then we get the earth helped the woman and drank up the river. Apocalyptic language. So, God is present on the earth. So that the battle is now on the earth, but God is present here. The dragon went off to make war with the rest of her offspring. So we're getting now on the earth, and this is after the two witnesses have been brought up into the heavens. We're getting on the earth a war, and the dragon is making war with her offspring, who keep the commandments of God and hold to the testimony of Jesus. So it's with the rest of her offspring, and they're keeping the commandments of God and holding to the testimony of Jesus. All right? So I think that the remnant now they're on the earth. We're in the second half of the 3.5 years of the tribulation, because they keep the commandments of God and hold to the testimony of Jesus. Not all of God's children do, but the remnant does. And they're her offspring. They're in the process of creating new life, all right? And they're down on that earth where this battle is continuing and it's intensifying. And then we see coming a beast from the sea, who had 10 horns and 7 heads. On his horns were 10, those diadems, or those victory crowns. Appearance like a leopard, feet of a bear, mouth of a lion. How apocalyptic can you get? And it says that one of his heads was slain, but his fatal wound was healed. It's sort of like the two witnesses, And then it goes on. The dragon gave him his power. So the dragon is Satan. And now we have a beast. The beast is the one who has political control over the whole earth. The dragon gave this beast his power, the power of Satan, and his throne and his authority. And the beast made war with the saints and overcame them. the saints were defeated. Now, this is the remnant, and you see here the remnant getting defeated, but they're going to come back and they're going to have victory the next time, but this time they're being defeated. I think in our lives, we work for God and we feel that we failed. Don't stop working for God. That's, I think, what this is telling us here. Even though it looks like we failed, keep working because the victory is going to come. So this beast was blaspheming God, and all on the earth will worship him. And let's go on with the beast. The beast is the political leader. He's the political leader of a one world kingdom that is the kingdom of Satan. He had 2 horns like a lamb, and he speaks like a dragon. Makes everyone worship the first beast, which would have been probably Satan, I guess. He performs great signs. He made an image of the beast who could speak and kill those who did not worship. So, and then it goes on. There's a mark on the right hand or forehead of all the people to represent that they worship the beast. And the number of the beast is 666. All right? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the number 6, and you have to do that. Whenever there's, numbers have spiritual significance. You can go online to find the classic work by E.W. Bullinger called Number in Scripture. Just go online and Google it. It was written long enough ago that it's out of copyright, so that the whole thing is online. And Bullinger says, man was created on the 6th day. God placed him in the garden to work and guard it. So 6 is the number of man's labor. Now, the Jewish tradition says that Satan was created on the 6th day because, God saw that after 6 days, God saw that all he had made, and behold, it was very good. So on the 6th day, and there was evening and there was morning on the 7th day, and on the 6th day, and then on the 7th day he rested. So Satan was evil, and he had to have been created somewhere between the 6th and the 7th days. Because he was evil, and because God saw that everything was good, on the 6th day, so he had to be created then. So that's the Jewish tradition. And then we get the 6th commandment is thou shalt not murder. And this is Bullinger talking. And we get the 6th clause of the Lord's Prayer deals with sin. And so, wait, let me go back here to 666. So what we're getting here is when you get, the number 6, we could have the number 6, we could have the number 66, but you're getting 666. Okay, now let me talk about 666. So the number 6 represents man and his tendency to sin. Remember, he was supposed to work on the 6th day. Satan was created, in between the 6th and 7th day. The 6th commandment was thou shalt not murder. The 6th clause of the Lord's Prayer deals with sin. So man was commanded to work, but he has a tendency to sin. 666, that's what we get there in the 666, I think anyway. So now we go on, and it says, we've already met the 144,000. They were sealed from tribes of Israel, and they were before the throne in heaven. Well, now we have the Lamb and the 144,000 on Mount Zion. Well, the Lamb obviously represents Yeshua. And they were not defiled with women, which means they remained chaste. They sang a new song before the throne. They have not been defiled with women. Don't take it literally. It means they're righteous. They have no sin in them. Okay. They follow the Lamb. So it's got to be a remnant, because not all of God's children follow the Lamb. And it's the 144,000. We know it's from Israel. They're following the Lamb. These have been purchased from among men as first fruits to God and to the Lamb. Well, the first fruits were the best that was given to God. And James, the book of James in the New Testament says we're to be a kind of first fruits. We're to give ourselves to God in the best possible righteous condition we can give him. I think this is the remnant of Israel. I think so. And then it goes, the dragon went off to make war with the rest of the woman's offspring, with the rest, who keep the commandments of God and hold to the testimony of Jesus. Okay, and these are all the first fruits. Now, we continue and we get, fear God and give him glory because the hour of his judgment has come. This is prophetic certainty. It hasn't come yet. Fallen is Babylon the Great. You know, if anyone worships the beast in his image and receives a mark on his forehead, on his hand, he also will drink of the water of the wrath and so forth. So this is the certainty. The victory isn't yet, but it's certain. And then we get the reapers, and we get sitting on a white cloud was one like a son of man. He had a golden crown on his head. And the reaping, angels came out of the temple, and the sickles. And the sickles are the imagery of judgment. And here you get the sickles cutting the wheat, and when they harvest the wheat, all they want is the hard seed, and they want to get rid of the chaff around the seed, so they throw it up into the wind, and the chaff is lighter and blows away, and the hard seed comes down. This is all the imagery of the seed, the new life. And then we get the winepress of the wrath of God. And again, there's the seed, it's bringing forth new life. And what does the wine, the grapes lead to the fruit, and you have the wine press, which is you know, you walk in the wine press and it gets the juice from the wine. This is all the imagery of new life. God is in the process with Yeshua, with the remnant, of bringing about new life. With that, I have to say, shalom.
Bible Interact is a group of Bible scholars and biblical archaeologists who promote the Hebraic nature of Scripture and view the two Testaments as one unified message. They explain how they use a first-century approach to searching the Scriptures, and they share their methods and discoveries for discussion and dialogue. They invite your comments and participation on BibleInteract.tv, where you can also find more teachings, self-study quizzes, webinars, and interviews.